If you like Vipers, this is the place to be. If you own a Viper, it's a must.
You're probably already here.
Exactly. There's thousands of them here, and most of them are on track at some point having a good time. But when the Dodge Viper Cup fires up, everybody, as you said earlier, Tom, they go to the fences. They want to watch what's unfolding, and we have a superb battle in the mix right now. We hop on board with Michael Von Quillick as he is chasing Jim Stout, and Stout runs it a little wide, but look at this, as Von Quillick loops it.
Well, Michael did a good job. He kept it on the tarmac, but the thing is what to do next. You daren't back up in this situation unless you know exactly who's coming. So see what Michael will do here. Oh, take the shortcut and take some of this Tooele dust out onto the track with him. Why not? Attaboy, Mike.
It's one of the nice things about this track. It's real difficult to hit anything if you get something wrong. You can bring a lot of dust and debris up, but at least you don't get into anything. And boy, speaking of getting into things, how about getting into a huge battle? And folks, this is for the second spot. There is Keating. You remember that monster start he got from third up into second, but then he has had the four-starting Charlie Putman in that 99, the black Viper with the red trim on the sides, jump up into third, getting around Ralph Gilles, who started in the second spot, and these three have been in lockstep now for just a bit. They've closed up. This is a great scrap.
There's two things I like about Ben Keating. First of all, he's a great talent. He's proven that time and time again inside Dodge Viper Cup, but he's also prepared to go right to the edge. So you kind of spend the whole race going, what's Ben Keating going to do? And he's right in the thick of it now, Greg.
And he loves it there, and we are on board with him. Look at Putman hunting just a little bit, but Putman a little bit too wide in there. He goes all the way out, gets it back down to the apex, but you can see that car skate just a little bit. It is a real balancing act getting into that turn.
It really is, and Charles Putman has got some experience here, but in nothing like this car. I think the last time he was here is you see Ben Keating.
You can see him on the wheels, those front wheels fighting now, back on, now loops it, gets it into about a half spin, backs it away, already into gear. Well, you talked about Ben Keating lives on the edge, and sometimes it'll bite you.
See, anybody else would have just put both pedals in and waited for that thing to end. He drove it all the way out of that and even put on a smoke show on the way out of the Tooele dust.
Now on board with Putman, clear of Keating, sits in second spot now, of course. There, behind him is Ralph Gilles, and Putman working his way up through the Tooele turn. That's into the Attitudes, that nice approach, that climb, then the drop through the first, the second, and then through Bad Attitude, and now that gradual climb up into Tooele turn, watching Putman knife through at this point.
Charles Putman doing a great job. Ralph Gilles saw an opportunity to get up into third place, and now he's just going to watch and learn a little bit, see where Charles Putman might give him an opportunity.
Ralph Gilles, of course, president and CEO of Dodge. He loves these cars.
I think it's fantastic. I think the car is so drivable. It brings out people that are just naturally gifted, that understand line theory, understand the thrill. Anyone who's comfortable with kind of looking God in the eye a little bit, is going to do well in a car like this. Because once you kind of figure out that the car is very manageable, very predictable, the talent comes out. So I'm not surprised to actually see these guys do real well. Because we had bobsledders in these things. We have people that understand physics and G-forces. So I think it's a beautiful thing. It really shows what the car can do. Well, this particular track, the Miller racetrack, really does suit the car very well. It's got a lot of nice gradual corners with some banking, so you can pretty much lay on the throttle the whole time. It's just enough speed to get the downforce going, and this car's got what I would call a tail hook type brake, so it's really bringing out all the best features of the car. For me, it's really blowing the cobwebs out and realizing that it's like riding a bike, to be honest. I've done a lot of testing in this car, so we're kind of coming together. So far, I'm one of the faster guys, so I'm kind of hoping it stays that way for the rest of the weekend. And great news, the Viper's coming back. I mean, the boss announced it to a group of dealers a couple weeks ago, a dealer announcement show. There'll be a new Viper in the second quarter of 2012, so we were very, very excited, and this, for me, it's a personal celebration of that fact.
Ralph Gilles is not only the head of Dodge, but he's also a Viper Club member and one of the greatest enthusiasts about the brand. It's great news to see the Viper living on into the beyond 2012, and it's going to be a good long time after that. This is the passion car for Dodge, not just the Halo car, but something that everybody at Dodge is really into. And as I say, it's an excellent organization. It all begins at the top.
Absolutely, and it does sort of trickle down, and you can see he was so adamant about this car. Oh, Stout gets a little crossed up, and Verges was thinking he might be able to save that, and he was just going to tuck in, and then Stout suddenly jumped sideways. That was a great piece of evasive action by Verges as he's continuing this charge up through the pack.
I also think he caused a little bit, pushing Stout just a little bit wide. He knew what was going to happen. He was going to drive on by, but he never expected him to come that far right.
Absolutely, but a great save nonetheless by Verges, a better save by Stout not to loop the whole thing. And you hop on board with Stout, we were talking about these cars are powerful, they're exciting, but they're also user-friendly. And for a Viper guy like Jim Stout, he loves them too.
Well, he's got a whole bunch of Vipers, and this one happens to be his favorite one for now. Ryan Shims leading Charles Putman, and Ralph Gilles will be back after these messages.
Seventh round of the Dodge Viper Cup here at beautiful Miller Motorsports Park, Tooele, Utah, the Great Salt Desert. Mountain ranges all around. The Ochres, the Stansburys, the Wasatch. It doesn't get much better than this unless you decide you want to go race a Viper. Then you crawl behind the wheel of one of these bad boys and you're having real fun.
Ryan Shims, the youngster in the paddock, comes into the Dodge Viper Cup, sets the mark very, very early, and now he's talking. Just before this race in the Falls Grid, he's saying, I've got a championship to win. I've got to stay clean. I've got to get up front. He's driven a flawless race, Greg.
He truly has. I mean, he broke the tie that he had basically for poles with Ben, got his fourth. If he hangs on here, he'll break the tie he has with Ben for 2 wins each. Exactly what he needed to do in the championship. And we've talked about it before, Tom. This is a guy who drives with a head on his shoulders far above his age.
You know, he did a front-engine rear-wheel drive spec series as we get into our last lap here, but that was the MX-5 Cup. A whole different kettle of fish here, but he's done single make racing, and as he's come up through this championship, unlike today, when he's had to get in there with the mix, he's shown good heads-up racing. He deserves, there's one of the guys who deserves to be here right now.
Absolutely, that modal car, he is not going to scratch on it, but Ralph Gilles, in trying to run down Charlie Putman for the second spot, loops it. He's got it in gear before he even stops moving. It just erupts a cloud of dust up into the air. And look back, where's Keating? There he is. Boy, Keating saw that plume. That was just like Days of Thunder, just driving into the cloud going, I'm not lifting. I can sense a shot here.
Or Jaws, look at this. Dun, 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 dun. Here comes Keating. And Ralph is aware of that as Ben Keating now making a charge. In the last lap, this is a change in speeds for the podium, or an opportunity for Keating to get on the podium.
Well, and the thing is, Gilles got dirty tires right now. Those Michelins are great tires, but when you dirty them up when they're hot,
nothing's great.
Yeah, it takes a bit. So he's got to drive the corners of his life right now. And you know Keating, we've talked about it before, that ViperExchange.com machine is going to be in full pursuit.
And his attitude, total bonsai right now. He's trying to get onto the podium. Ben Keating is a matter of pride, is a matter of points, down through the attitudes, and Ralph's leaving nothing on the table.
Boy, that car twitching as he is absolutely driving it. Here comes Keating. And again, keep in mind, not too far behind them is Verges either. So one mistake from these guys, another spot for Verges. But the guy who has been spot on perfect from start to perhaps a checkered flag, here he comes, Ryan Shims. Absolutely phenomenal drive.
Takes the checkered flag. Putman will be behind him, but we've got to get an eye on third place. Is Ralph going to be able to hang on, or is that crazy acid-colored car going to come through at the end?
Boy, I tell you what, here we go into that last turn, into release. Look at Keating, throws that back end around, gassing it, flat tracking it, trying anything he can. He got a good drive out of the turn, but just enough. Ralph Gilles will hang on to that final podium spot, but Keating, look at the speed he was carrying. He had to turn inside to not get into the back of Gilles. Wow, classic Keating.
Great, classic Keating. Shims, Putman, Gilles, Keating just outside, and look at Keith Verges.
Cracking the top 5, great ride. There you take a look at the rest of the field, the 13th spot. Again, Paccione having his issues with that bit of contact in the mirror. And now the points after 7 rounds of the championship, and Shims doing exactly what he needed to do, back into the points lead by only 6 points. It's that close. And you take a look at the rest of the pack, but those are the two that are really battling for the honors right now.
As we go into round number 8, this could be settled, but in the meantime, a very jubilant Ryan Shims gets out of his car. I was down in pit lane to talk to him. Well, Ryan Shims, it's all about the start here in Dodge Viper Cup. You got a good one. You never had to look back.
Yeah, actually I ended up starting on the dirty side of the track, which this much horsepower and the cold tires really was not a benefit. But I held my own through turn 1 and 2, and Ben battled it out, and luckily I was able to pull a little gap about mid-race, and from there I was just trying to keep the car together. It's real hot out here. The cars obviously have some cooling issues every now and then with the stint air, and Motul products just really kept the car cool. I gotta thank American Racing Technology. They wouldn't have made this weekend possible if they hadn't have dumped in at the last minute. But wow, that was a good run. I'm excited. We needed that for the championship, so good to go.
Thanks. you, Tom.
Well, let's see. You're on the podium. You kissed the girl. You're about to have a glass of water. That's all right. Good job, Charles.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Boy, that's a lot of fun out there. I tell you what, these cars are just unbelievable. Out of the box, delight to drive. Very forgiving with huge horsepower. I mean, it's just about as much fun as a barrel of monkeys.
You know, you probably the only guy in the paddock who never gave a second thought at passing the head of Dodge.
Well, you know, there was a second thought there, but that's all, just for a second.
Well, Ralph Gilles, let's start off by saying this, but car's all dusty.
Yes, it is. I went off into the gravel. There's some deep gravel out there. So remember my Jeep off-roading skills. We started keeping the wheels spinning, got it back on track. But I was thinking about Ben. Where is he? Where is he? It was a lot of fun.
The battle was definitely for third there, but you had a good battle with Charles Putnam as well, a newcomer to the series.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. He's so smooth, and watching him, he didn't make any mistakes. Had him in a couple of corners a little faster, but he knows how to drive a wide car, and that's what a pro does.
And that was a pro interview right there. I mean, he obviously gets it. He knows what he's up against with some of these drivers. And watching some of those, when he was throwing that car through those S's up there in the attitudes, the man can drive.
It's nice to know that you got a second career if you really need it.
Exactly. Well, that wraps up our coverage here of the 7th round of the Dodge Viper Cup. Round 8 will be coming up right back here at Miller Motorsports Park. Thanks for joining us. For Tom Natchew, I'm Greg Kramer. Till next time, take care, everybody.